Now, HSBC has published its climate change report today, and it forecasts that in 10 years, the low-carbon energy market will almost triple. Well, to tell us how to tap into that market, we have got the head of HSBC's Climate Change Centre of Excellence with us, Nick Robbins. Nick, thank you very much for joining us today. And this report's hot off the press. What are the main areas that it identifies?
Well, what we tried to do was construct a series of scenarios for the climate economy going forward for the next 10 years, because we know that there's a lot of policy uncertainty, technological uncertainty and market uncertainty. And what we found in our conviction scenario was, as you say, the low-carbon energy market grows to around $2.2 trillion by 2020, from around 740 billion today.
Well, that does sound like there's going to be an awful lot of opportunities. What kind of areas are going to benefit from this?
Well, I think the thing that was interesting for us, actually, there has been a lot of focus on the supply side of the low-carbon opportunities, so renewable energy or nuclear. But the real winner in this area does seem to be energy efficiency, so solutions that are making our transport systems more efficient, buildings and industry.
So electric cars?
That's right. I think that's one of the areas of transformation we do see, and we're estimating that sales of plug-in and electric vehicles could be around 20 times bigger by 2020.
Right. But of course then we need the infrastructure to go with that. That's always been the argument against the plug-in car, is what happens when the battery runs out.
Well, that's right, and I think that's where a lot of focus is being put in place now in different markets to put in place those packages, because it can't the transition to an electric vehicle economy can't be done by one actor, by the car companies alone. It needs all of them, utilities, car companies and public authorities to work together to get that infrastructure in place.
Now, so does that mean then that there isn't going to be so much emphasis on cleaner power?
That's still going to grow. That's going to grow, and we think it's going to grow about 8–9% in terms of compound annual growth rate. Renewable energy is the big player in that, with solar growing about 9% and wind growing about 10%. But one of the things with energy efficiency is that the more efficient you make your economy, potentially the less actual supply of energy you actually require.
Sure. And I mean, it's very timely. We've seen what Angela Merkel has announced in Germany today. Is the clean energy going to really transform the way that we receive our energy?
I think we are going to have now a shift in the constituents of the energy mix. It is moving towards a more low-carbon package, and I think that's what's interesting about the Merkel announcements. We both have longer lifetimes for nuclear, but also investments in the renewable side as well. So those two things, which had often been seen to be conflicting, going ahead together at the same time.
So, for looking at investment opportunities, there are some investments obviously to be made in the energy sector.
Yes.
And are we thinking that really it's going to be a lot of the traditional car companies that are going to be switching to electric or hybrid, or are we going to see a lot of new companies coming up that are going to take
a number
over?
of large companies are making very strategic commitments to that. But like all technological innovations, you do have a number of pure play companies around the world, here in Europe, but also in the United States and particularly in China.
Let's talk a little bit about China. How important is China going to be in the next 10 years?
Well, we see China growing as a country amongst the fastest in the world by about 14% in terms of compound annual growth through to 2020. It becomes the second largest market for low-carbon solutions, about 24% of the total. So that means it pushes the US, currently number 2, into third place.
There is a perception in the West that really China isn't particularly interested in lower carbon, and is that an unfair assumption?
It's not just unfair, I think it's wrong. I think China has shown in its existing commitments in terms of building out manufacturing capacity for solar, deploying wind, but also showing interest in this electric vehicle opportunity, that it really does see an industrial opportunity in this, not just the need to drive down emissions.
So you think that a lot of the manufacturing of these cleaner solutions will be done in China?
It's already, certainly in the case of solar, that has already happened.
But Tony Blair talked about us being able to innovate our way out of the potential crisis of global warming. When you looked at all of these things, how much innovation did you see, and how much How good are we getting at being able to innovate our way out of the problems?
Well, one of the interesting things is some of the technological solutions are actually fairly low-tech, so insulation and so on, and some of them are high-tech, so LEDs and indeed electric vehicles, where there's still quite a lot of innovation required, particularly on the battery side. But I think innovation on its own will not be enough. We need to have government policies, we need to have prices on carbon, regulations in terms of standards for renewables and so on. So innovation will not come of its own. We're going to need that sort of package of measures to push it along.
OK. Nick Robbins, thank you very much indeed for coming in to discuss this with us today. Thank you.